Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Wedfuly webinar. My name is Cass, and I am the head of operations here at Wedfuly and our resident wedding expert. I'd love to quickly introduce who will be supporting me tonight on this webinar. And from the Wedfuly team, we have my colleague, Colby.
Hi, everyone. My name is Colby. I'm the head of customer success here at Wedfuly. I've been in the event industry for a few years now, and I've been lucky enough to produce many weddings here at Wedfuly. I'm really excited to be here today, and I'm going to pass it back to Cass.
Perfect. Thanks, Colby. Let me get myself spotlighted. Give me a second. Perfect. Okay. So Colby's going to be helping us on the chat. If you have questions throughout the webinar today, you can leave them in the Q&A function in the bottom right of your screen, and we will go through them at the end of the webinar. The other feature I want to mention is the chat. So while questions will go in the Q&A, the chat is more for like general banter. We'd love it if you could just put where you're zooming in from the chat. I am zooming in from windy Wyoming, and Colby is zooming in from Denver, Colorado. Oh, we've got Delaware and we've got Western Massachusetts. Thank you so much for joining us. So excited. Okay. So I'm thrilled to have you all joining us today. I'm hoping that you walk away from tonight having learned a little bit about Wedfuly, how it works, get all your questions answered, and we actually have a promo especially for you for attending this webinar. So I'll talk about that at the end, but what you can expect is you'll hear a little bit about how it works. You'll learn about the key players that you need for your wedding. We'll touch on the tech that you need to run a successful virtual wedding, a virtual live stream. We'll talk about how this is not just a lifeless live stream. This is so much more than that. And then lastly, we'll leave plenty of time for Q&A. So let's kick things off. So Wedfuly has helped plan and produce hundreds of virtual weddings. I think we're like in 700 plus now at this point. And no two are exactly alike. That is absolutely true. We pride ourselves in being able to translate your wedding vision into reality, and we'll work together with you to add in this virtual element that enhances your existing wedding plans. So some Wedfuly weddings include in-person guests, which we're seeing a lot more now that things have opened back up. We call these like a hybrid wedding. So you have both a decent amount of guests, both in person and virtual, while others are simply just a live stream or fully virtual. So it's just the couple, the officiant, in person, and then everybody else is fully virtual. There's all different kinds of flavors of those examples that I gave. Some consist of elaborate interactive elements or religious or cultural traditions, while others are just really short and simple and just ceremony only. It's really up to you, but our team will be there to walk you through every step of the process and clearly lay out all that you and your partner need to know to make your Wedfuly wedding a huge success. I don't know if any of our attendees are wedding planners, but we also work with wedding planners a lot too, who offer this as an option for their couples. So whoever you are, we can work with you to fit this into whatever makes sense for you. We have several behind the scenes teams that I want to talk about. We have two mainly. We have our AV team, who handles all of our AV calls, who will walk you through the AV needs for your particular wedding. And they also help with the setup of the wedding itself virtually. We also have a CX team, which stands for customer experience. And what they are so great at is shouldering a lot of those administrative tasks that may come into play for incorporating a live stream into your wedding. So, we offer the ability to send invitations for you. We have this great add-on called a surprise video, where we will email your entire guest list and have them submit videos. And then we have a video team who stitches those all together with these really beautiful well wishes and blessings. So the AV team is really just behind the scenes administratively helping lift some of the load off of your shoulder and our shoulders as well. We always act as a concierge to your virtual guests. This never changes no matter what type of wedding you have. And we communicate with them directly on the day of the event, and we'll always loop them in on any activities you may want to include. You can also opt in for free if you provide us your guest list. We'll just email your guests the day before and the day after your wedding. Day before email is Zoom link and information, and day after is really just thanking them for coming, and we'll resend out a virtual guest book if you opt into that, which is also free. So while the Wedfuly team is always virtual, we do offer on-site support in select locations. And this is something new over the past 3 months that we've been rolling out. So depending on where you're located, we may be able to come and set up everything for you. So it's like totally easy peasy lemon squeezy. You can hire us to show up. We set it all up. We break it all down. We work directly with the virtual Wedfuly team and create a really beautiful virtual production. I always call this like our boots on the ground. So this is like this person, it is whether you hire us or not, you would need to, if you decide not to hire us, you need to assign this out to a friend or a family member. And this person is so critical. They are like my eyes and ears of everything that's happening. They are responsible for setting everything up, which we'll walk them through. It's not very difficult. And they're on the phone with us and texting with us for the duration of the wedding itself, just so we can ensure that everything is going well. So this is like a person, people always ask me like, who should this person be? This is like a friend or family member who's really tech savvy and is available to support before the wedding and during the wedding. I did a wedding last weekend with a gentleman, a DJ that we've done a ton of weddings before, and he actually volunteered to be our on-site contact. So he had the bandwidth to do both. Not all DJs do, but he's just a really stand-up guy, and was that. So they didn't have to pay for an additional person, and they didn't ask a friend or family member to do that. But a lot of weddings that we do ask friends or family members, or maybe like a partner of someone who's attending, can be this person too. So let's talk a little bit about the process itself. So to get started with Wedfuly, we require a $200 deposit to reserve your date. This is non-refundable. Once you put down that deposit, your date is secured, it's locked and loaded, and your wedding time. You're going to fill out a really short form that outlines your vision for your big day. You can let us know at this point if you've hired any additional vendors, like a DJ, like what I was talking about, so we can begin to piece together your personalized wedding plan. We've created some internal documents and internal trainings called our Wedfuly Wedding Guide that's broken out into bite-sized modules that you review prior to actually meeting with us over Zoom for your planning call. So the goal here is to provide you with just as much information as possible and let you pick and choose how to incorporate the live stream into your wedding plans. So we I'm the type of person, like, I want all the information, and then I'm going to take it all and I'm going to decide what works for me, what do I want, and what matches my plan, my vision and my plan, which is so great about Wedfuly. What we're seeing more and more these days is that weddings have booked DJs to handle their music, microphones and speakers. Wedfuly is able to seamlessly integrate into your DJ's mixer. If you decide to rent from us, we send equipment that plugs in directly to either the back of the speaker that your DJ is providing or into their mixer. It just depends on what your DJ's preference is. And that allows us to get a super clean feed of audio directly from their equipment. So if they're playing music, we can get that clean audio feed. And if you're speaking into a microphone or your officiant is speaking into a microphone, we'll also get that really clean feed. There are other ways to DIY this, and we can talk about those in a little bit, but we have an entire team who this is their whole job, is to figure out what is the best solution for your wedding. and you have access to that team the second that you book with us. So they are here to make the setup simple and stress-free. And if you do hire a DJ, all we need is their contact info and we'll take it from there. And you don't have to be a part of any of that planning. We will communicate with them directly. Post-wedding, you will get the full Zoom recording of your wedding, plus a group photo, a chat log, a participants list. So if you want to send thank you cards, you want to send a thank you email, you'll get that. Every wedding has the option to opt in to a free virtual guest book and a free photo booth, which are both really nice things to incorporate for your virtual guests so they can leave you a message on well-wishing or blessing. They can take a selfie. They can include a GIF, they can put emojis, it's all kinds of fun stuff that they can do, especially if you have an intermission, if you're incorporating both the ceremony and the reception. These are just some fun, free things that we can help facilitate for your virtual guests. Just keep them occupied. So next, I'm going to talk about tech and different layers of tech and what you may need for your virtual live stream. So if you want to DIY your wedding, no problem. So if you're going to DIY it, that means you're not hiring us to come on site physically. You can rent equipment from us. We have 2 different packages, or you can purchase it yourself. It's truly a 60-40 split on the people who do end up renting from us, or they already have the equipment, or their uncle has the equipment, or they end up purchasing it themselves. It's up to you. We can guide you through it on what we think is best, but I'm going to break out the 2 sections here into audio and then video, but I'm going to talk about video first. So video is your equipment that allows your guests to see the wedding and allows you to potentially see your guests if that's important to you. So we use phones for cameras. We rent newer iPhones. That's what comes in our rental package. And we typically like to have around 2 or more cameras, so phones delivering different angles of your wedding. So a super simple setup would be like a ceremony in an aisle. So those would be 2 iPhones on tripods, or Samsungs or Android phones. If you wanted to level it up from there, you can have VOW cameras on either side of you and your partner. I did a wedding last weekend where they took a 3rd phone and they actually put it in the back of this arbor that they got married underneath of, and it provided a really nice up close view of the couple and the officiant. So there's a bunch of different ways you can like decide to do here, but I think 2 is truly like the bare minimum because it's more dynamic to have both aisle and ceremony. We recommend using smartphones, like I mentioned. Anything like 2018 or newer would be great. Pretty much all the new iPhones have really good camera quality that hasn't improved like that drastically much over the last couple years. Zoom is recorded in 720p, so there's no need to like bust out like DSLRs or GoPros or anything like that. If you want to do that, you can, but you're a little bit on your own there in terms of figuring out how that integrates into Zoom. I just mentioned it briefly, tripods. So you'll need a tripod for holding each of the devices steady. You can find these fairly cheap online, but what I will say is you don't want to be the wedding that has the tripod faceplant mid-ceremony because the wind blew it over. So I think like middle of the road, good quality tripods are around like $40 to $50. Regardless of whatever tripod you use, you're going to have to make sure it has a phone adapter for your device. So in conjunction with the phones and the video and the tripods, we want to avoid any devices dying mid-wedding. So we rent out, and we always recommend, this is like my hot tip, like you want to have battery packs for every single device that's being used for your wedding. They make very small battery packs now, like super, super small, like the size of a credit card or something. You would just plug these in to the phones that are in the tripod. You can tape them to the leg of the tripod. You can wrap it around one of the legs of the tripod so it's not like dangling in midair. But this is super important. One of our packages is the silver package, which comes with everything you need to live stream with the exception of the phones. So you would provide the phones yourself. And if the couple is using their phones, the likelihood of it being on 100% battery the morning of your wedding is slim. So that's why these battery packs come in they come in great hand. Okay, so let's talk about audio a little bit. Earlier I mentioned if you had a DJ, what we could do there. I'm going to talk a little bit more about renting or DIYing. So you're going to want a two-way, like a speaker microphone. We use this device. This is like our OG device. It's called we call it the Magic Speaker. It's called the eMeet. You can purchase it on Amazon. It's around $200-ish. It varies. It acts as both a speaker and a microphone. It connects to just one of the devices and provides really clear audio for your guests. So for some of the more DIY weddings that we do, they take this eMeet and they put it one of two places. They put it in front of a speaker, so if they had an amp or a speaker and a microphone set up on site, you would put this right in front of the speaker. Or you can put it right up front in the ceremony area. So another wedding I did the other weekend was underneath a huppah, and they put it under right by one of the legs of the huppah, and it picked up the audio perfectly. So you can check out the eMeet. That's just it's foolproof. It's dummy proof. The battery is really great. It just works. We've used combinations of lapel mics and Yeti mics and amps and speakers. And so again, the AV team will talk to you and decide what exactly is the best AV setup for you. And they'll work with you to come up with that together. So last but certainly not least, sorry. You cannot get married on the internet without the internet. So you'll need to have a really strong internet connection or cell service in order to have a successful virtual wedding. And I know I was just laughing just a little bit, but this is not a joking matter. This is so serious. So our first preference, first and always, is Wi-Fi, really strong Wi-Fi. So we ask that you if you're thinking about doing this and okay, I do want to add a virtual element to my wedding, just go ahead and do a speed test in your ceremony area. What we're going to want is 5 megabytes up. So that's upload speed, absolute bare minimum. Honestly, 10 is probably should be the bare minimum, but we've gotten away with 5. You can go to Google and you can run a really simple speed test. You can go to speedtest.net. You want to do this standing directly in your ceremony location. And then if you're moving areas for your reception, you're also going to want to do it there too. And the nice thing is that since you all are thinking about adding a virtual element, you hopefully have enough time to do these sort of tests and test this out beforehand. So if you need to call your internet service provider and increase your strength, or you need to buy a new router or a new modem, you can do those things before it's getting down to the wire for your wedding. We've had a lot of families who are using or couples that are using the family's lake house, and they've bought those Google mesh routers just to increase the bandwidth strength and the signal strength of the Wi-Fi out into a grassy meadow. So all of that is possible. All the items that I mentioned can be rented from Wedfuly to make the technology piece even easier. We also rent the equipment that plugs into your DJ's mixer as well. So let's talk a little bit about the Wedfuly guest experience. And I'm going to share a little news clip from when we were on Fox 8 just a couple months ago.
The bride, the groom, they're all dancing.
All of their family members from all over the country are able to join them today for this special moment. Well, we fell in love with this dog. He's so cute. During the one part of Zoom, he went in his basket behind his mom and dad and took some treats out to play.
Oh, some of the workers there celebrating while at work. I love it.
So that was some footage from a live wedding that we did on Fox 8 in Cleveland. And let me tell you, there is nothing more exhilarating than doing a wedding live on national TV. And it went off perfectly. So what sets us apart from any other service out there is that we really, really care so passionately about your virtual attendees. and ensuring that they feel as much a part of your wedding as the in-person guests. One of our internal core values is that we care. And I can't express to you enough like how important this is to us, because this is new for everybody. And we don't want anyone feeling like they're second class citizens of this wedding. So we want everyone to feel included. That's why we offer all these really awesome ways to elevate the guest experience. So we have a lot of add-ons that I sort of touched on before. Some fun things you can do is you can play trivia with your virtual guests. We did that at a reception the other day. You can opt into all those free fun things that we do, like the virtual photo booth, the virtual guest book. You can come up with, I love to talk about like prelude content. So that's the time before your wedding. You can create a video specifically for your virtual guests that talks about your story and your journey to this big day. You can create a really beautiful slideshow that we can play. You can also hire us to do all those things too, but it's just nice if you go the extra mile to make sure that everyone is feeling included. And that's a really great segue into like these interactive activities. So even with all these different types of weddings, there's lots of really fun ways to keep everybody engaged, and they're gonna walk away from your wedding saying how much fun they had. It happens all the time. We've had people tell us over and over and over again, this is the best wedding that I've ever been to. And like, who would have thought? Because it was on the internet, it was virtual. So this isn't just a typical live stream. You wanna make this engaging, and we encourage all of our couples to engage with their guests as much as possible. If you're like, I don't want to do this, that's okay. We're not going to push you to engage with your guests, but just know that this option is available to you. This can be done through virtual reception tables and surprise video add-ons. So virtual reception tables is where we have time specifically dedicated during the wedding. It could be during intermission if you're having a longer intermission. It could be during the reception at some point, where we will break everyone out into specific tables that you have assigned, and you can pop into each room and say hello to your guests. If you don't want to be a part of it, but you want your guests to be able to mingle with one another, this is also like a great way to do that too. So maybe if there's like some distant cousins or distant family members that haven't seen each other in a long time, this would give them the opportunity to do so. Or if you're blending families, this is also a great way for everybody to just meet each other and talk about how much they love you and how much they enjoy being a part of your special day. I mentioned trivia. We actually have a gal on our team who does trivia as a side job. And so she's like our on-staff trivia expert. You can do a selfie moment or a kiss cam, could be super fun. Always, if you want to, you can create a signature cocktail and then send the recipe to your guests before the wedding. My wedding on Friday night sent champagne to all their guests, so they're gonna pop the champagne right after their ceremony as they're saying their thank yous and I love yous, and before they go off to the reception. They had chosen to not stream the reception, just the ceremony, so they wanted to have that special moment with their virtual guests. Just let your creative juices flow. Like, we've seen a lot of really fun things, but we're also open to any other creative ideas that you may bring to the table. So I'd love to just